It is a Friday morning and nothing seemed to have changed. The same inbox with no replies, the same situation with no way out, the same prayers going up and the same silence coming back down. You are not in crisis exactly, you are just tired in the specific way that comes from holding on longer than you planned, from doing the right thing in a season that has not rewarded it yet, from waking up faithful to a God whose timeline you cannot see, and whose movement you cannot feel right now. This is not a dramatic season, it is a quiet one, and quiet seasons have a way of wearing you down more thoroughly than the loud ones because there is nothing obvious to point to, and nothing to brace against. Just the long, undramatic stretch of a life that is not moving the way you expected it to by now. Joseph had a season exactly like that, and what was happening inside it would have surprised him if he could have seen it clearly from where he was standing. Accused, imprisoned but not abandoned. After surviving the pit and his brother's cruelty, Joseph built something real in Potiphar's house. He worked with integrity until Potiphar trusted him with everything. Then Potiphar's wife lied, and Joseph went to prison for something he did not do. He lost his freedom, his reputation, his position, and any visible evidence that God's promises were still in motion. So it was, when his master heard the words which his wife spoke to him, saying, "Your servant did to me after this manner," that his anger was aroused. Then Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined. And he was there in the prison. Genesis 39 verse 20 NKJV, and he was there in the prison. This sentence lands with a particular weight that there was no immediate rescue, no dramatic reversal of the lies against him, just the hard, plain reality of an unjust situation being allowed to continue. But what the next verse reveals changes the entire picture. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy, and he gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. Genesis 39 verse 21 NKJV. The Lord was with Joseph in the prison, not waiting outside until things improved, not promising to show up once the season changed. God was fully present and working inside the very place that looked like the road had ended. Psalm 105 then pulls back the curtain even further, on what was happening beneath the surface of Joseph's suffering. They hurt his feet with fetters, he was laid in irons. Until the time that his word came to pass, the word of the Lord tested him. Psalm 105 verses 18 to 19 NKJV. This tells us the prison was not a permanent address, it was rather a corridor with a door at the end of it, and that door had a date attached. The testing Joseph endured inside it was not punishment. It was preparation, quiet, unseen, and purposeful. The difference between rotting and ripening. There is a version of a hard season where you go in and come out exactly as you entered, just older and more exhausted. That is what happens when a season is simply endured without any internal movement. You survive it, but you are not genuinely changed by it. Joseph's prison was not that kind of season. Something was forming in him that could not have formed anywhere else. The weight of being falsely accused without becoming bitter. The discipline of faithfulness when no one important was watching. The quietness of trusting God when the silence stretched far longer than felt comfortable, and none of those qualities grow in ease. They grow in exactly the conditions Joseph was living in. The prison was not rotting him, it was ripening him for something his current circumstances were not yet large enough to contain. When you are paying for someone else's lie, there is a particular tiredness that settles in when you are carrying consequences that are not yours. When a colleague takes credit and you absorb the blame. When a relationship ends because of someone else's choices and you are the one rebuilding alone. When a system, an organization, or simply life itself hands you an outcome you did not earn and did not deserve. The injustice has a way of wearing you down, not just emotionally but spiritually, because it starts to raise quiet questions about whether your integrity actually matters, whether doing the right thing counts for anything when the results say otherwise. It counts, and it always does, not always visibly, not always on the timeline you would have chosen, but every act of faithfulness you are maintaining in a season that feels pointless is building something in you that your next chapter is going to need. You cannot see it from where you are yet, but the construction is real, and it is ongoing. God has not moved out of the prison. The most important thing to understand about Joseph's prison season is not that it ended, though it did. It is that God was present and active inside it the entire time. The Lord was with Joseph, and that was as true in the prison as it had been in Potiphar's house, and as true in Potiphar's house as it had been before he ever arrived in Egypt. His address changed, but God's presence did not. If your season feels like confinement right now, whether that is a dead-end role, a prolonged illness, a relationship in limbo, or simply a stretch of life where nothing is shifting the way you expected, God has not relocated. He is as near in your waiting room as he was in every season that felt more like otherwise. Something is growing that you cannot see yet. You may feel like you are going backwards in life. The days may be long, the progress invisible, and the gap between where you are and where you thought you would be by now may feel wider than you can comfortably look at. But feeling like you are rotting and actually rotting are two entirely different things, and Joseph's story is the evidence. Fruit ripens in conditions that do not look productive from the outside. The process is quiet, slow, and almost entirely hidden until the moment everything is ready, and then it is undeniably, unmistakably ready. What God is doing in you right now is exactly that kind of work. The season that looks like stagnation from where you are standing is the season of your deepest formation. You are not falling behind. You are being built for a weight of responsibility that your current circumstances are quietly and carefully preparing you to carry. Stay faithful where you are planted, because until the appointed time that God's word comes to pass, every day you hold on inside this season is a day that counts, a day that builds, a day God is using in ways you will only fully understand when you are standing on the other side of it. God has not given up on you in this season, and your story is nowhere near finished. The prison that held Joseph was not the last chapter of his life, and whatever is holding you right now is not the last chapter of yours. Today's post was titled "You Are Not Rotting, You Are Being Prepared." Share it with someone close to you now. God bless you.